I promised you at the end of the last episode that the next video released on this channel would be the one that lets the cat out of the bag, the one that you've been waiting for. And true to my word, in today's episode, I reveal what the next big build is going to be. Before we get down to business, I think it's worth having a catch up on what this channel's all about. There's a very high chance that this is the first video you've stumbled across, and you never know, this project might be the one that you want to stick around for. So if you've not done so, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Back in July of 2019, I bought myself what I hoped would be my childhood dream car, a running and driving road legal recreation kit car, call it what you want, of the legendary race car of the 1960s, a Mark I GT40. This car I planned to evolve into my own vision of perfection over time. What unravelled was more of an emotional roller coaster than I'd envisaged. The winter of 2020, the car came off the road for what was meant to be a simple interior makeover. But the more I dug into the car, the more this project snowballed, and it ended up turning into a 2,500 hour, 2-year nut and bolt rebuild, taking the car to the absolute bare chassis, then meticulously rebuilding and creating my final vision of my perfect GT40. I shared that journey of rebuilding the GT40 on this channel with over 60 plus videos sharing the highs and lows of rebuilding someone else's project car. And with it naturally drawing towards a conclusion, it got me thinking about what the next challenge might look like. I'm a habitual tinkerer, and as brilliant as it was having a completed car sat in the garage, I knew that I needed a new challenge. So I advertised the GT40 for sale, and it sold soon after. So with money in my pocket, more importantly space in the garage, I could then really think about what I wanted to do. I did consider another GT40 because I think I do have some unfinished business. Taking everything I learned from that first car, putting it into a second car, I would like to think I could get the result of an even higher quality car, but maybe that'll be for another time. I did think about looking into restoring a Series 1 E-Type Jaguar Coupe, but neither of those two options really sort of sparked that fire inside me, and I knew deep down that there was only one real choice. And it's one that up until now, or certainly up until the last few years, was extremely difficult, if not impossible, to actually build. You see, the manufacturer of the original cars 10 or 15 years ago rounded up all of the molds that people had started making of this one particular car, all of the fiberglass bodies that they were producing, and actually crushed them due to copyright laws and trademark infringements. Now, with those laws now lapsed, people have now started to recreate these bodies, and if you look hard enough, you can find manufacturers of them. So I think there might be a few of you that have twigged what this car is that I'm going to be building, but for those of you that haven't, let me share with you. I'm going to be building a recreation of a Mercedes 300 SL Gullwing. There is, in my opinion, no other cooler car than this. It's a car I've always drooled over, lusted after. A real one is, of course, biblically out of my league, but now with copyrights lapsed and Mercedes having no rights to crush bodies and moulds, if you look hard enough, there are companies around the world starting to produce bodies in fiberglass, their moulds taken from original cars, allowing people like me to build their dream. So time for a very brief history lesson of Pan America. Due to the 194's racing success, Mercedes looked to create a road-going version, resulting in the W198, the 300 SL Gullwing that we more commonly know. Launched in 1954 at the New York International Auto Show, it marked a bold move aimed at the American luxury sports car market. The Gullwing retained the 194's innovative lightweight chassis and distinctive Gullwing doors, and that was because of the high side sills of the tubular chassis that Mercedes originally designed. This design, and fitted with a 3-litre inline-6 engine, made the 300 SL stand out as the fastest production car of its era, and has gone on to go down in history as an icon, with quite possibly one of the most recognisable silhouettes in automotive design. Like me, I'm sure you guys are absolutely bursting to see this Gullwing body, and I would love to show you, but at the moment of recording this video, I can't actually show you it sat in the garage because it is still in manufacture. Now, I could sort of half-assed try and cover it off, but what I want to do is wait for a future video where I can cover it in absolute all of the minute detail that it deserves. You know, my reasonings of why I went with this manufacturer, the background of the molds, and everything in between. So unfortunately, don't hate me, we're going to have to wait for another video or so until it is sat in front of me. I think realistically the body is probably 2 to 3 weeks away. But up until then, there is still a ton of stuff that I can be getting on with, loads of parts that I have been ordering that I can show you in due course. But the main, or the second main critical part of this build, we can get onto now. So the next question you might have is, well, once you've got your body, what do you then do with it? Now, thankfully, there's a bit of a tried and tested formula in building one of these. And the first step is you need to buy yourself a Mercedes SLK convertible. In particular, it needs to be the R170 model, which ran from 1999 to 2003. Now, this SLK shares exactly the same wheelbase dimensions as the 300SL. So what that means is you get your SLK, you basically chop it down to the chassis, you can then put your Gullwing body over the top, fabricate up a load of bits and pieces, marrying the two together. But it's the wheelbase that's of critical importance, and that is what basically gives you the correct period looking, iconic sort of cohesive build of one of these cars. So the first thing I need to do is actually go and buy myself a donor car. Wanting to avoid the usual time wasters and wannabe scammers of Facebook Marketplace, I jumped straight onto Auto Trader. Now you can see here that SLK 200s and 230 compressors can be picked up for very, very little money. And I did think about briefly buying one of these cars at the bottom end of the market, but then I thought, what do I actually want to achieve with this build? And with this one, I'm pretty much shooting for the stars really, so I wanted to get myself the best possible donor car. And for me, in my mind, that would be going for the AMG 32, which was the SLK's top of the range model. It's a 3.2 litre supercharged V6, putting out 354 horsepower. So with that, I narrowed down my search, and as you'd expect, these are few and far between. Some looking quite ropey, others were way above and beyond what I wanted to pay. Now, I think I did get very lucky with the car that I did buy. Obviously, the advert is now gone because the car itself is sat in my garage. One evening a few weeks ago, I set out on a little 120-mile round trip to go and view this particular car, and it really did turn out to be everything I wanted it to be. It's a 2002 model. It has 101,000 miles on the clock, full service history. The previous owners have taken excellent care of it, and it is in fantastic order. There's very little rust to the body and to the underside. So for me, starting with the best possible base car just means I don't have to worry about doing any annoying rust repair, patch replacements before I can then get on with the fun jobs. I'm planning to be open and honest about how much this project is going to cost, so starting that off on the right foot, this car cost me just £6,295, and I've started stripping it and selling it for spares, and I think at the end of it, by the time I've sold everything I can, this car is going to work out to cost very little, so I'm hoping my decision was the correct one. Although a very easy one, buying the donor car, it feels like a massive step in the right direction and really feels like this project is going to become a reality. There's so much work that needs to go into the preparation of this body, and because I don't want to rush it, because I want to do it to the best of my possible abilities, getting this work done before the body arrives, I feel is the right way of doing things for me personally. Now, don't forget, I only have a double garage, and a lot of it is taken up with tools and a massive workbench. So I don't actually have the physical space to have the donor car and the body sat in the garage side by side. So I'm trying to get as much prep done to the SLK as possible, so when the body does arrive, I'm not having to juggle around space for too many weeks before I can start to marry the two together. I don't actually know what I'm going to do when I do have both the car and the body in the garage. I might end up trying to suspend the body from the ceiling. I really don't know quite what is going to be the best plan of action. I may end up pushing the SLK outside and just have it underneath the cover just for a little while while I finish up chopping down the body. So there's a lot of logistics. I'm not spoilt for space, so I'm going to try and have to work smarter about this one. And that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to get the donor car here and get it cut up. So I'm not trying to juggle both of these huge items for months ahead. So that's basically where we are. I'm really excited to share this one with you. The next episode, I am going to be cutting up this SLK. How far I get, don't actually know, but we will find out when we get there. So I do hope you tune in. Make sure you do hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. I'll catch you next time.